What was the best thing you've been associated with? What did you enjoy the most?
Oh, I don't know. I enjoyed the whole thing. That is, radio was a wonderful time to work in those days, a great time, because that was it. People had that for entertainment. The great thing about it was, I think, about radio, above television, is it was consistent. That as a show went on and stayed in that same spot year after year after year. And I think it sold merchandise regardless of ratings, just because it was there, you know. Mm-hmm. I think it's unfortunate that they switch the shows around so much. You get used to a television show in a certain particular spot at night, you look forward to it, all of a sudden it's on a different night.
Yeah.
Hint Hunt, presented by the makers of Chiffon Flakes and Armour Canned Meats, and Lum and Abner, presented by the makers of Alka-Seltzer, usually broadcast on Thursday afternoon over many of these stations, will not be heard today due to the special broadcast which follows immediately. The Elgin Watch Company, makers of fine American watches for over 80 years, presents its 6th annual Thanksgiving Day greeting to America. 2 hours of star-studded entertainment broadcast throughout the United States, to our veterans' hospitals and to our armed forces overseas, so that those loved ones of yours in the service may celebrate with us and shortwave round the world. In the next 2 hours, in the order of their appearance, Elgin brings you Don Ameche, Alan Jones, Jimmy Durante and Gary Moore, Mary Jane Smith, Sir Lancelot, Larry Storch, Margaret Whiting, Vera Vague, the Page Cavanaugh Trio, Bob Sweeney and Hal March, the Doctors of Harmony, Hootie Menuhin, Jack Benny, Mr. Kitzel, Red Skelton, and the Elgin Orchestra and Chorus under the direction of Louis Silvers. And here is your host for the full 2 hours, Don Ameche. As a time-honored greeting for this day, ladies and gentlemen, it's Happy Thanksgiving. And all the stars Ken Carpenter just mentioned join me in the Elgin Watch Company and the Elgin Jewelers in wishing you a very happy Thanksgiving. Many of them are old friends of yours, others are newcomers, stars of tomorrow. All join together to bring the warmth of their personalities and good wishes into your homes this Thanksgiving Day. For Thanksgiving, perhaps more than any other day we celebrate, is the holiday of home. A simple day without tinsel or fireworks, recalling the little things long remembered, when the thoughts of those separated by the miles turn back to their beginnings, to friends and family, to home. In the spirit of Thanksgiving at home, Alan Jones sings, "It's a Grand Night for Singing."
It's a grand night for singing. The moon
At 1 p.m. Pacific Time, the 6th annual Elgin Thanksgiving Variety Special went on live, coast to coast from KNX and CBS Hollywood. Elgin Watches were first incorporated in August of 1864 as the National Watch Company. The founders eventually based their operations in the growing city of Elgin, Illinois, and changed the company name. By the turn of the 20th century, it was one of the largest watch manufacturers in the world. During World War II, all civilian manufacturing was halted as the company moved into the defense industry, manufacturing military watches, chronometers, fuses for artillery shells, aircraft instruments, and cannon bearings. Their agency of record, J. Walter Thompson, confined radio sponsorship to their annual Thanksgiving and Christmas specials, which began in 1942. The 1947 Thanksgiving special was produced by Earl Ebby and hosted by Don Ameche.
You know, Don, it's difficult when we have someone of your stature on the program to confine his career to one medium, but we are going to talk about radio tonight, and so we want to find out where it all began. I know that as far as network radio is concerned, it was Chicago. Is this where it started for you?
Yes. A sustaining program was the first coast-to-coast show that I ever had. That was in August of 1930. Then I started coast-to-coast on a program called Empire Builders for Great Northern Railroad. That started in September of 1930, and then in, I believe it was either late March or early April of 1931, I took over First Nighter. And I did that until June of 1937. Also, a show called Grand Hotel on Sunday afternoons. And the only other network that I had in that time, and this is the only soap opera I did, was a thing called Betty and Bob, and I did that for 2 years.
Grand night for singing, and we'll be looking forward to you providing more of it later. Wherever you find song, you'll find laughter. And Elgin's 2 Hours of Stars wouldn't be complete without the laughter generated in millions of American homes by two gentlemen known as the Nose and the Haircut. Reunited for the first time since they acquired shows of their own, Elgin is particularly proud to be able to bring Jimmy and Junior back together again this Thanksgiving. Here's the younger half of the partnership, a young man who often pays $1 for a haircut, but seldom gets clipped for the $64. Gary Moore!
Don Ameche had previously spent time as an integral part of the Chase and Sanborn Hour, earning a reputation from Edgar Bergen as one of the best comedic ad-libbers in the business.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
He returned to radio in the fall of 1946, starring with Francis Langford and Frank Morgan in The Old Gold Show. His skits with Langford on both shows would become the Bickersons. In 1947, he also starred with Catherine McLeod in That's My Man.
Gary, you're always welcome on the Elgin program. We're just so happy to see you.
Well, I'm happy too, Don. In fact, as the lightning bug said when he caught his tail in the pencil sharpener, I'm delighted, no end.
Comedian Gary Moore had spent the previous 4 seasons as Jimmy Durante's Friday night co-host. He was versatile, able to be both a straight man or a comedic sidekick. He emceed evening programs and was soon given a daytime variety show on CBS.
Like maybe a lecture or something.
A lecture, huh? Like on what subject?
Well, like maybe a special lecture for single ladies visiting our town for the first time, entitled, What to Do When Accosted on the Street by a Strange Man, and What Streets to Walk Down to Make Sure You'll Be. You think something like that might be useful, Don?
Well, yes, in a limited sort of way. But how about something with more appeal for the masses?
For the masses? Oh, for us, I've got the very thing. Movie gossip.
Oh, you like movies?
Oh, indeed I do. Don, I am especially crazy about those pictures with one-word titles like Shock, Lured, Pursued, Possessed. And next year, David O. Selznick is going to present the greatest of them all.
What's it called?
Pooped. I don't know, it should be just Ginger Peachy. Meanwhile, stand aside, Don, as I present the latest and intimate news scoops gathered from all over Hollywood. Here's a scoop. I was talking yesterday to Rodney Blupford, the actor. He tells me his next picture will be a remake of the old hit, He Who Gets Slapped. Rodney will play the title role, He Who. Obviously a Chinese character. Exclusive, Stupendous Pictures has just announced plans for their latest epic. It'll cost $5 billion with 5,000 stars, 3,000 extras, 500 producers, and 200 directors. The picture will be called... Just Plain Bill. Attention! I was talking to Orson Welles yesterday as he sneaked down Hollywood Boulevard, trying not to attract any attention. He was riding a flamingo side saddle. And Orson tells me that he is going into the perfume business as a sideline. It seems that while on location in South America, he picked up several undiscovered rare odors. He has mixed them all together and is calling this passionate mixture Glendale. Sounds just fine. This perfume, friends, will come in 3 styles for 3 different types of girls. The first one is for very smart, sophisticated girls. It's called Yes. The second perfume is for the more indefinite type. It's called Maybe. And the third type is for very dumb girls. It's called Huh? We wish you luck, Orson. And here for my final scoop is the hottest news ever to come out of Hollywood. New York and Florida papers, please stand by. The news, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Ping pong, spelled backwards, is pronounced gnip-gnop. Thank you.
Gary, I don't know what I wouldn't give to hear that all over again.
Oh, thank you, Don. I wouldn't give anything either. Besides, I haven't the time, old man. I'm expecting a phone call.
A phone call? Oh, from an old sweetheart?
Don, you couldn't have phrased it more neatly. Hello, Elgin program. Gary Moore speaking.
Hello, Junior. This is Jimmy.
Jimmy Durante, we're on the air. Why aren't you here?
I'm having such a good time I forgot, Junior. I'm at a big New Year's Eve party.
Jimmy, New Year's Eve isn't for a month and a half. What are you doing there?
Johnny Myers is picking up the checks, so we wanted to get started early.
For many listeners on the East Coast, this Elgin special was broadcast just as families and friends were sitting down to dinner.
And surely enough, here he comes now, the little man with the big nose and the heart to match, the one and only Jimmy Durante in person.
President Truman's 1947 Thanksgiving luncheon was served with fresh tomato juice, grilled ham, candied sweet potatoes, spinach, hot bread, and baked stuffed peaches with meringue. His dinner served mushroom soup with roast stuffed turkey, giblet gravy, mashed potatoes, buttered peas, and braised celery. For dessert, he had molded fruit salad, mince and pumpkin pie with coffee, nuts, and candy. In the post-war world, President Truman wasn't the only government official under heightened public scrutiny.
Seeing you across the mic again is like 2 weeks in the country. You're my buddy boy.
Likewise, Junior, you're my fudge cake.
And you're my doll buggy.
And you're my dream boot.
In fact, you're the finest, dearest, truest friend a fella ever had.
If you're listening, Russia, see how easy it is?
I don't want to appear maudlin, James, but I'm so overwhelmed.
The trail of dishonesty in high places in the backwash of war led tonight straight to the Army and Air Force lists of officers who have received medical discharges since VJ Day. Major General Harry Vaughn, the President's aide, opened up the touchy question by direction of Mr. Truman himself. He sent a letter today to Secretary of Defense James Forrestal, ordering him to hand over the names of all officers who hold a medical discharge. General Vaughn said any legitimate disability will not be questioned. But he knows of one officer who holds a medical discharge and at the same time is holding down a $75,000 job in civilian life. If a man is handicapped, said the general, to the extent that he gets tax-free disability pay, he's not worth $75,000 to private industry. And that's what happened in Washington today.
If only there was a hero that both adults and children could rely on.